Hello and welcome to this HotDocs webinar. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Lois McCluckey and I'd like to introduce you to your presenter today, Mark Settle. Mark is our Director of Global Services and has been expertly implementing our technology for nearly 20 years. He heads the Global Services team in North America and is responsible for professional services, training, solution deployment and integrations. I will now hand you over to Mark for today's presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Lois. Good morning and welcome to our webinar today. We'll be covering how HotDocs can be benefit to you and your human resources departments. And just a reminder that today we're on a GoToWebinar, so questions are welcome, but they need to be entered in the questions panel in the GoToWebinar window, and then Lois will be moderating those and assisting with those questions at the end of the presentation. So the first thing we want to talk about is just what the pains are in HR as you're working with your documentation within human resources. And there's quite a few different issues that you might encounter. The first is volume and repetition. You might have a very large organization that you have a lot of volume to deal with, and part of that volume is repetitive volume. So you're going to do the same types of onboarding documentation for new employees. You're going to do the same thing every year as you go through open enrollment for your health and benefits and other things like that. Another item is cost of time. So of course, if you've got a lot of volume and repetition, then you're going to be spending a lot of time working on those items. Along with that is making sure that you're ensuring accuracy and minimizing risk. So there's a lot of risk if you make mistakes, if you're copying, pasting in between documents, if you're rekeying information, then that's also costing you time, but also allowing for opportunities for errors to be in those documents. And there's nothing like an unhappy manager or employee coming because something was incorrect, just because of a copy and paste error. There can be specific complexities and nuances to the documents that you're working on, especially with termination agreements, with employment agreements for executive level employees. There might be a lot of things that you need to deal with, also related to stock or other things that you might be dealing with within your HR departments, and of course, the very simple world that is health and benefits within a business. Simple as anything but, especially in the United States, but also abroad. Of course, productivity and workload. So in this ever-demanding world of business, they want us to do things faster and handle more. So we need to be productive in our day and be able to accomplish as much as we can. And then finally, legal compliance. There are so many laws and regulations that we need to deal with within our human resources departments to make sure that we're delivering the proper benefits, to make sure we're meeting the proper compliance as far as various human resources things with how employees are working, where they're working, what types of benefits we're providing to our employees, all of that to follow specific federal regulations or state and local regulations as well. So let's talk about how HotDocs helps as a solution for that. The first thing that it allows you to do is manage compliance and risk. So using a document assembly software will help you be more accurate and more comprehensive in your documentation. So what that will allow you to do is have a process for generating documents that mitigates that risk, that allows you to have a controlled, logical business process for generating documents, and keeps you from rekeying information so that you can be more agile and that you can maintain your content in an easier way. Second is standardization. So it's very common that you want to have standardization across your business with your documentation. And HotDocs, a document assembly solution, definitely facilitates that. Allow you to have your branding across all of your documents, allow you to have the fonts and styles and cross-references and headers and footers and other things that you need within your document to have a consistent business front in your documentation. And then, of course, what everybody wants to do is save time and money. So it allows you to be more efficient. So you're reducing this rekeying of information, pulling data from existing systems so that a user is being as productive as possible in filling out the documents. and even possibly pushing some of that work to the employees themselves, allowing them to fill out information rather than an HR resource filling out that information. So let's talk a little bit about how it works. So the first thing we want to talk about with HotDocs is the content author. A content author might be an HR expert who understands documents that you use within your business. So they're going to take documents that you use, whether those be Word documents or PDF documents that you might need to fill out. This might be related to onboarding of an employee, termination packages, stock plans, as well as health and benefits. Anywhere where you're doing documents that you're creating on a regular basis. And then this content author is going to take those documents and create a document template. What they're going to do to create that document template is they're going to identify the changeable text in that document template. So fields that are going to change every time this document is regenerated. So if we're talking about an employment agreement, the employee's name, the employee's information, the job information, the salary information, the start date, the agreement date, and other such things that would go into that employment agreement. Also, they might identify the variable language in the document. So there might be specific sections of the document that need to change with each creation of those documents. For example, in an employment agreement, you might have a trial period paragraph that for certain employees, maybe lower level employees or even executive employees, there might be a period of time of which they need to, they're kind of on a probation or trial period at the start of their employment. You might only include that paragraph if that trial period is necessary for that particular position. So you can dynamically include or exclude language into the output document. So the content author can be this HR expert who takes the documents you use within your business and uses HotDocs tools to create these document templates. And then those templates would be consumed by an end user. This end user might be an employee of the business. It might be an HR resource. It might be anybody within your business that needs to fill out these documents. And what they're going to see then is an interview process. So this is a dynamic questionnaire. Think of almost like a TurboTax style interview questionnaire, but based on your document content. So the user will fill out this Q&A. They'll go through and answer each of the questions. And of course, data might come from some existing system. So you might have an existing system, an HR system, PeopleSoft, Taleo, other system where employee information resides that you might want to pull into that documentation so you're not rekeying information. But then the user might also provide some additional information. Once the user has completed that interview questionnaire, then they would get their output document or documents. So there might be a single output document, there might be multiple output documents that come from that questionnaire. And then, of course, when they've keyed that information, maybe you're going to need to use that information later with additional documents that you're not completing at this time. And so the data points in that document template that you've provided answers for can be saved. So that would allow that answer data to be reused at a later time so that the user doesn't rekey that information that maybe isn't even coming from another system, but simply came from the user at that point in time. And that's how HotDocs works. You've got a content author who creates the templates, and then those templates are deployed to an end user who can use that template to generate output documents. So a little bit more about how our technology works. HotDocs is a core document assembly software that can be delivered on-premise, either on the desktop or in your browser, or it can be delivered in the cloud. And so in an on-premise server or a cloud offering, the user would work in their browser with either an out-of-the-box HotDocs user interface, or we also provide a great service layer on top of our solution, our core technology, to allow for other applications to integrate with HotDocs easily. And so there might be something like Taleo from Oracle that's used commonly within human resources departments, or PeopleSoft, or other solutions that you might use, including Salesforce, DocuSign, or other e-signature solutions, or document management solutions for storing the output content. And so our technology is built in a nice service-oriented architecture to facilitate these types of integrations with other solutions. So as we get into our demonstration in a little bit today, we'll take a look at an integration even into DocuSign. So I want to talk about a couple of use cases that have implemented HotDocs specifically within human resources. The first of which is Norfolk County Council. Sorry, I'll say that correctly. And Norfolk County Council is one of the largest local authorities in England and employs more than 24,000 people. And on top of that, they also work with a lot of school districts and in the area that they're responsible for providing central human resources for those as well. So there's a ton of pressure for them to be able to reduce costs and continuously improve their process. And so prior to HotDocs, they were reliant on centrally stored Microsoft Word templates. So they did have some templating in place to try to make sure that they were reusing a common standard document. But there was no version control and there was no way to prevent staff from saving local copies of these documents. So what they really needed was a solution that would manage the proper content, that would be able to pull data from their Oracle system, so they used Oracle Taleo, and they needed to be able to have an easy process for users to then create documents. And so what we did at HotDocs is we worked with their senior managers there at NCC to be able to define their specific technical requirements. We were able to link into their Oracle Taleo system to be able to pull the existing data that they need to into the documents that they're creating. And then they implemented HotDocs and deployed it across 411 locations for employment-based contracts. And so this allowed them to save more than 80% time spent on their contracts. So they had just an incredible increase in efficiency and also in productivity, and allowed them to have a system that also reduced the risk of errors because it was pulling data from their existing system of record so that they weren't duplicating effort. So a ton of money saved in both time and cost overhead to be able to generate these employment contracts. So greatly facilitated their ability to do business within human resources. Second is a public service broadcaster that has over 21,000 employees, and as a public service broadcaster, they often also work with freelance contractors very often. So their HR department was very busy and often dealing with a lot of contracts for these contractors and other employment contracts for directly hired employees. So with 21,000 employees and over 1,000 contractors, a lot of work being done on a regular basis. And what they needed to do was be able to streamline that contracting process. They wanted to be able to be more agile in creating the contract and also implement an e-signature tool alongside that to make sure that they're digitally signed to streamline that process, not only in the creation of the contract, but the overall workflow to make sure that it was all done in a very rapid and agile way. So they implemented HotDocs for creating the employment contracts and got all the benefit of HotDocs of completing that interview process, allowing the user to simply provide the data. And then from that interview process, when it was completed, the document would be routed immediately to, for signature for all of the necessary parties. And so now they can get through these agreements in just a matter of minutes, sometimes only a couple of minutes. So that greatly, again, increased their productivity, reduced the amount of cost and time in generating these contracts, and allowed them to mitigate risk as well, to make sure that this information was correct. So let's take a quick look at the HotDocs software. So what I'm going to show today is an example of an employment agreement package being filled out within the HotDocs application. So you see here in the HotDocs application, I've got work items. So work items are previous documents or document groups or specific documents that I've worked on. And I can save those, I can name them and save them and come back to them later if I wanted to fill out additional documents related to that. So I'm going to create a new work item. And we're going to suppose today that we're creating, we're going to say I'm an HR employee and I'm creating an employment package for Eric Thompson. So we'll name this Eric Thompson, and we'll choose the employment agreement package. That's the document we want to create. You can see I've got other documents here. The great thing about HotDocs is that it doesn't have to be used solely within an HR department, but I can segregate the documents that I need to use to each particular department. So I can have users and user groups, and I might only see the documents that apply to me. So in this demonstration site, I've got a handful of documents, but I might only see HR documents if I'm working in HR, but I could also deploy this in finance, and I would only see finance documents. But we're going to choose this employment agreement package and choose Go to Interview. This will take me to the HotDocs interview for the employment agreement package. And that is going to provide to me a dynamic questionnaire that I can complete that will prompt me for all the necessary information to fill out this employment agreement package. And this package is actually going to generate, as a single output document, multiple logical documents: an employment agreement, a non-compete agreement, and a personal data sheet for the employee to sign and review. So there's now a group of questions for me to fill out as an end user. So my job as the user is now to just go through and fill out all of this information. You can imagine this might be routed to the specific employee to fill out, because it might prompt them for specific personal information beyond just the job information. So I would fill this out, Eric Thompson, and I would go through and just fill out all of the necessary information. He's male. Now you can see in the interview process, the user would just tab through and fill out fields like they would in any normal web form. So a very comfortable and familiar environment for the user to fill out. There are different field types that the user would just be able to navigate through: text input, date and number input, multiple choice fields, which might be a drop-down list like you see here for gender or marital status, and then also true-false questions, so just a yes or no question. So the user would just go through and fill out all of the information. Now, for the benefit of the demonstration, rather than me typing all of this information, I've set up a little script here that will set all of the answer values so they don't have to type them all. So I'm going to click that button, and you can see it fills out all of the information. But the user would simply go through and fill out all of the information. They can even fill out lists of information. So if I was gathering prior job experience or educational information, this might be something where I want a whole list. And they can add as many items as they want. So you can see each of the previous jobs, where they worked, what their job title was, and their job duties were. You can gather the information about the current job that we're hiring this employee for. So director of marketing, what they're going to do, when they're going to start, whether or not they have a trial period. Again, the interview can be dynamic. So I might gray and ungray certain fields based on selections. I can even modify additional questions that might get asked. So if they're exempt, I'll put an annual salary. If they're non-exempt, an hourly salary. So I can really build a very dynamic questionnaire to change and facilitate gathering the correct information based on the input from the user, so that I gather the correct output document. And then at any time during this interview process, I can navigate and skip around, and I can also see a preview of the output document and a summary of all of the questions and answers, and even print that out. When I'm done with this interview, I'm simply going to click Finish. So when I click Finish, it's going to generate my document and take me to an overview of this work item that I've created. And here I can download my output document. I can go back to the interview if I have neglected to fill something out. I want to fill it out. I'll just go ahead and download that document, and we'll open that up in Word so we can take a look. Bring Word on the screen here. And so I get this completed employment agreement that has all of the information that I provided. So I get an employment agreement with all of the necessary information that I filled out. And below that, I've got a non-compete agreement with that information, and then a personal data sheet down below that as well. And these could be separate actual documents. In this case, we've put them all into a single document that can be printed and reviewed. Now, maybe I want to take it a step beyond this. Not only do I want the user to be able to get this document, but I want them to be able to sign it digitally. And so this particular application here, we've got an integration into DocuSign. So if I want to send this off for signature, I can click this DocuSign button. It takes me to an overview here where I can send for signature. I click that button, and it's going to call the DocuSign application behind the scenes and send it the document with the necessary information for signature. So there's a way to configure the document so that it has specific signature placeholders for the people who will sign, and notify DocuSign of which people are going to sign the document. And then here you can see a single click, it sends it out for signature. And then what's going to happen is each of the signing parties are going to get an email from DocuSign. I'm getting that email off the screen here. So I'm going to click the link in that email. And you'll see here when I click that link, there we go. Got my email, clicked my link off the screen here, but it takes me right into DocuSign. So that document was routed automatically just by the single click of that button. And now I can go in as a signer. Let's see, I'm signing as Ed Walters for HotDocs, and I can just hit sign here, and finish, and I've signed the document. The employee is also going to get the same thing. So if I say no thanks, and we'll close this, I've also got the email. They're both routed to me for purposes of the demonstration. I can come in as Eric Thompson and sign that document as well. And because Ed's already signed it, I can see his signature, and I can choose to sign, adopt my signature, and sign that here and here, and hit finish. And then both parties get an email with the completely signed document to their attention. So you can see here, just like we saw with the public service broadcaster, there could be a nice, easy integration so that the document can be sent right off for signature, and a single click after that interview is complete. So HotDocs facilitates the ability to integrate with solutions like this so that you can build the right workflow that you need within your business to save time and money. So not only do you get the benefit of HotDocs and generating the document quickly, but also sending it off and routing it into the next step of your process. So let's return back to our presentation here. So just a little bit now, just to remind you of who we are. HotDocs has been around for more than 20 years, and we have over 1 million customers worldwide, or 1 million users worldwide, with over 9,000 customers. So there's some customers that have deployed thousands of users. And with over 20 years of experience, we are the global market leader in what we do. We started the industry of document assembly, and we continue to lead the market. We're currently deployed in over 60 countries, and we have offices in both the United States and in the United Kingdom. And we have a network of over 50 global partners who assist with HotDocs deployments as well. And then we're a proven technology. We started in the legal industry, but we work across many sectors, including banking, legal, insurance, and corporate, especially within the human resources departments. And then just you can see there the type of market share we have in some of those industries. 4 of the top 5 global banks, 8 of the top 15 insurance companies, and over 60% market share in the legal sector for document assembly. And we are a Microsoft certified partner. Just to show you an example of some of our just excellent clients. We have customers who've been using our product for a very long time, some that we can't publicly put up on this slide, but so many that are using HotDocs, and it's crucial to their business to make sure that they're generating documents in a very fast and efficient way, including law firms who use it for legal documentation, corporations who use it in various ways, and even banks who are using it for commercial loan documentation, saving them just thousands and thousands of hours, man hours of work each year to generate commercial loan documentation. So in summary, HotDocs will vastly help you reduce the time that it takes to produce the documents that you use within your business. It'll help you eliminate your duplication of effort and decrease the errors in your documentation and therefore the risk. It offers built-in compliance by allowing you to build the rules and logic into your documents, and also the conditionality within the clauses or the paragraphs and language within your document. And will help you increase productivity and reduce your overall costs, which at the end of the day is exactly what you want to do within your business. So thank you very much for joining us for the webinar today. We hope this has been beneficial to you and it will help serve your needs in the future. We're excited to talk to you more. And so if you have any questions, you can put those into the questions panel down at the bottom. And if you'd like to contact us, you can contact us at marketing@hotdocs.co.uk or marketing@hotdocs.com as well. Either of those, and we'd be happy to get you more information about HotDocs following the webinar today. So I appreciate your time, and if you want to stick around for questions, we'll now open it up for Q&A. So Lois, if you want to assist with any questions that have come through.
Thanks, Mark. So we've had a couple of questions in already, but as Mark said, if you do have any, just pop them into that pane on GoToMeeting. So the first one, Mark, is can new employees fill in their own information online?
Absolutely. So that browser-based questionnaire that we went through and completed, I talked about filling it out kind of as an internal HR resource, but that's certainly because it's browser-based and can be running either on-premise within your business or in the cloud. It's just a matter of giving the right permissions to your employees to be able to access that browser-based interview and fill it out. And so what that does is it takes some of that workload off of the HR resource to provide data at all, because the employee can just access that questionnaire and fill it out. Excellent question.
Thank you. The second one that we've had in is, does HotDocs connect with document management systems to file the finished documents?
Absolutely. So there are two ways to approach that, and we've seen it happen both ways. There is an indirect integration from HotDocs. What I mean by that is HotDocs doesn't directly integrate with the document management system, but the word processor does. So it's very common that when they go through and they generate their document, they then open their document in Word to review it and save it, print it, etc. And because they open in Word, the integration into the document management system is actually in the word processor, and it's their common way of saving into the document management system. However, you can enable a direct integration where, just like sending off to DocuSign, I might have a button that I click because I've generated multiple documents and I don't want to have to profile each one of them individually, opening them up in Word. I could have an integration that allows me to single click, push all of those documents into my document management system, whether it's a SharePoint repository, whether it's Alfresco or iManage or some other document management solution.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, that's all the questions we've had. So thanks again to you for presenting.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance.
The recording of this webinar will be available online and we will let you know when it's there. Thanks, everyone.